What if I just start and I'm just like staring into the camera?
Welcome to episode 5 of season 2 of the Sportsified podcast. I'm Braylon.
I'm Andrew.
It's a little delayed. Today we have a lot of things to talk about actually. It's been like a month since we last recorded a podcast.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we got the Olympics. We got lots of baseball during that time. We got tons of NBA offseason stuff, trades, free agency, draft, summer league. It's a lot. Thankfully, the NFL hasn't done much in that time, although we do have some Aaron Rodgers. Again, of course. But we're not going to talk about the NFL today because there's just so much with the MLB and the NBA and the Olympics. And I don't know where I'm going with that.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Sportsified.
Yeah, MLB. Yay.
Yeah, so this is Andrew's favorite part of the Sportsified podcast now. Just a short little segment on the MLB. So, the Cleveland Guardians. How do you feel about that? So next year, the Cleveland Indians have announced that they will become the Guardians and I guess protect over Cleveland or something. I don't know. I didn't really get the name behind the Guardians. Apparently, they have some video about it with Tom Hanks. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on it?
It's better than the football team.
That's true.
I will say that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense why they're changing it. I mean, following pretty much everyone else who's changing that similar type of name, but
right.
It doesn't sound bad. But it'll take some adjustment.
I'm not sure I get why everyone has to change their names now. The Washington football team, Cleveland Guardians. I guess speculatively the Braves and the Chiefs are next. I hope not. Like everyone just rebranding. Cleveland Guardians is gonna take a while to get used to. You see their new logo. It looks pretty generic, like you just create it in MLB The Show.
Yeah.
They just took like a C and a baseball and some wings. But, I mean, it looks a little cool, given that they have to rename. But, more MLB news, Kumar Rocker, the 10th overall pick in the 2021 MLB draft to the Mets, has not reached a deal with New York. And we're past the deadline now, so Kumar Rocker is going to be going back to Vanderbilt to pitch another season and then enter the draft next year. Wait, no, I'm wrong about that. He actually can't go back to Vanderbilt. He's just going to be working out, I guess, for the next year until the next draft, because the Mets reportedly didn't even make an offer to Kumar Rocker, which is really odd. So that's just crazy. Some medical concerns. But also the 40th pick in the draft to the Red Sox, Judd Fabian, he has not signed either with the Red Sox, and he was a potential first-round pick. So again, it's a little odd that those two high-profile prospects did not sign with their MLB clubs. But now moving on to the Olympics. You want to take that, Andrew?
So yeah, the Olympics. The Olympics have now concluded. Feels like they just started, though. But I've got to say, it was fun having them again. And Team USA won basketball. There was a lot of concern, I will say, heading in. There was some questionable performances to start, but they eventually found their footing and they were able to beat France in the final game. So that was exciting.
Yeah, France was pretty good. Rudy Gobert, Evan Fournier, Nick Batum. Who was it? Damian Lillard had a quote where it's like, all these players just like turn it on when they play for the countries. Like, come on, Evan Fournier, he absolutely went off in the Olympics, and that transferred into a big contract with the Knicks. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But it was impressive, Rudy Gobert, the Stifle Tower, and Patty Mills was really good for the country that he plays for, Spain.
Yeah,
totally my
right.
Yeah, Patty Mills is really good too. So it's cool to see all these guys come out and play really hard and win games for their countries. And it's kind of worried about Team USA. Like, you look at that roster.
Yeah.
How do they lose a single game by or they should win every single game by more than 20 points? But yeah, that was just a really, really odd couple weeks. But, they pulled it off. And so in total, Team USA, everyone at the Olympics, they won. They had 24 more total medals than the next country, and they had one more
country,
China. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. I didn't watch much Olympics, I have to admit. Watched some highlights.
I didn't either.
I mean, it's kind of hard when it's in Tokyo. Like, I want
Yeah,
to watch
exactly.
Team USA baseball, but the games are like at 6 in the morning. I'm not waking up for that.
Like every event I watched was either swimming or like a race, like the triathlon or a marathon,
Yeah,
something
those were
like
the
that.
stuff that
Those
they
were
had
the
during
only
the
things
day.
that seemed to be on.
But I did see handball. Have you seen that?
Oh, I did not.
It's so fun. Like I really want to play it now. So it's kind of like basketball and soccer and maybe a little bit of baseball. So they have this ball. It's probably like this big, and
Okay.
so they throw it to each other, and then it's kind of like basketball where when they have the ball, they can take some steps, but they can also dribble. I think it seems like maybe 4 steps. I'm not sure on the exact rules. But then there's this zone where the goalie can't go out of, and then they have to try to throw it, just chuck it into the goal. So it's like soccer in that way, but they're throwing it, so kind of like baseball. But they take shots from like all over. There is a 3-point line or a 2-point line, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to watch. And you want
Yeah,
to play a
if
game
there's
later,
two
Andrew?
events I could do, be water polo and speed walking.
Speed walking?
Yes.
That's an event.
There is. Yes.
You're
They are practically running.
No way.
It looks like they are running. Like there is no
What
difference
in the
between the speed
world?
walkers and the runners, other than the fact that their feet do not lift off the ground.
That is really cool
And it is very
and
impressive.
really weird. So like, do they have
And
a
really
judge
painful.
looking at their feet?
Yeah, they just have cameras trained on them the whole time.
Okay, that is cool, but weird.
Saw some comments that said it might be the most physically demanding sport in the Olympics because you're not supposed to do that fast.
That's true.
The human body is designed to run at that point, at that speed. So
Wow.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now moving on to the biggest segment of today's episode, the NBA.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna start off by looking at the NBA draft. Just some things we thought about it. So first overall pick, obviously, to the Pistons was Cade Cunningham, and as a Michigan sports fan, I like the Pistons. They're my second favorite NBA team behind the Warriors. Bandwagon. But there's no reason to be disappointed about this pick. Some are gonna say after these first couple summer league games that they should have taken Jalen Green, but Jalen Green had the experience in the G League last year against pros, so obviously he's gonna be more experienced at this level than Cade Cunningham already. And Cade Cunningham can be Luka Doncic. Like, he's that good. He has all the tools.
Yeah.
His defense is what impressed me the most so far. Cade Cunningham is a really good pick. Now, next, number 2, like I mentioned, the Rockets took Jalen Green, and he can be like a really, really good scorer. And he could turn out to be the best pick in this draft class when it's all said and done. But yeah.
And then, so at number 3, we're going to go pretty quickly through these first round, talk where we want. The Cavs drafted Evan Mobley. So he had a decent summer league debut. We'll talk about that a little later. Strong defensive showing, but offense iffy. We'll see how he turns out. Number 4, the Raptors drafted Scotty Barnes. This shocked a lot of people. Most thought they would draft Jalen Suggs.
Mock draft winner.
Yep. But Barnes isn't a terrible pick. Like he's still a pretty high player in this draft. So we'll see how that turns out for
his
them.
main comp is Draymond Green. He can be that type of player, like kind of the connector of a good team. Next, number 5, the Magic got Jalen Suggs, who had dropped. And then at 6, the Thunder had Josh Giddey, which was a bigger surprise than Scotty Barnes at number 4. Josh Giddey from the Australia NPL League, and he's a big guard. I like his playmaking. He could be pretty good. Also, at number 7, the Warriors got Jonathan Kuminga. He somehow slipped to number 7. They picked him up. He can be really good on defense. We don't have to go through all these picks, but I do want to talk about the next one, the Magic drafting Franz Wagner at number 8 out of Michigan. Some thought this was a little high, but apparently NBA teams are really high on his 3D potential, saying he can guard the 1 through 4 spots on the court.
Alright, and is there any other notable ones in the first round?
I like the pick of Davion Mitchell by the Kings at 9. I think he was pretty underrated in the draft process. Like, he could have gone as high as 6, and it wouldn't have been surprising. He can be really good. But I think maybe the most surprising thing here is that the Jared Butler dropped to number 40.
Yeah.
And the Jazz? Okay, so it was the Pelicans pick, traded to the Grizzlies, traded to the Jazz. The Jazz are getting Jared Butler, not to be confused with Jimmy Butler, and his college teammate Davion Mitchell, not to be confused with Donovan Mitchell. But did you notice that Davion Mitchell, D. Mitchell, wore number 45 at Butler, like Donovan Mitchell?
Wow, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they had D. Mitchell and Jay
And D.
Butler.
Mitchell's.
They're basically an NBA team there at Butler. That's why they won the championship.
Clearly.
Yeah, so that's just what I noticed from the draft. Do you see any guys that fell more than you thought they would?
I don't right now. I'm not seeing anyone.
Yeah, the second round looks pretty predictable besides Jared Butler there. And first round surprise, I would say the Spurs drafting Joshua Primo at number 12. He was in the second round of most mock drafts. Apparently San Antonio really likes Joshua Primo. I'm actually not sure how good he is. I haven't seen him play at all.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Let's move on to some of the trade stuff that happened in the offseason. We're going to start with Ben Simmons.
All right. Yeah, so the Sixers are asking a lot for Simmons. Now, obviously, he's a strong defensive player, but he just really struggled on the offensive side of things recently. And now, of course, he's an all-star. So clearly, they want an all-star in return. That makes sense. I don't blame them.
But not a James Harden return.
No, some of these trade proposals are a little ridiculous for Simmons. Okay, so first we have the Raptors. So the Sixers proposed Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, and the 4th overall pick, which turned out to be Scotty Barnes, for Simmons. That was like almost last year's core for the Raptors for Simmons. It does not seem like a very fair trade at all. That is like Braylon said earlier, that is like a James Harden player level trade, not a Ben Simmons level trade.
Right, that's two all-star
So that's
guards.
just a little ridiculous.
Two all-star guards,
exactly.
An up-and-coming 3-and-D player, Anunoby, and the 4th overall pick in the draft. That's crazy, but I think it kind of pales in comparison to this next one. The Sixers asked the Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, who was the number 2 pick in last year's draft, the 7th overall pick, which turned out to be Jonathan Kuminga, the 14th overall pick, which turned out to be Moses Moody, and 2 future first-round picks. Now, counting Wiseman, that's basically 5 first-rounders and Andrew Wiggins, who he may not be at the value of his contract, but he's still a pretty good player. Andrew Wiggins and 5 first-round picks for Ben Simmons. Are you kidding me?
That's just crazy.
Ridiculous. What are the Sixers thinking? Ben Simmons' value is absolutely plummeting right now. They want to get rid of him. He's not answering Joel Embiid's calls. He doesn't want anything to do with the Sixers, it seems like, anymore. They have to trade him by the end of the offseason. But at this point, what are they going to get? Definitely not that. Moving on
They commit too much to him, and they're regretting it now, I think.
Yeah. Moving on to another speculative trade. There's been There's been peaking interest in Pascal Siakam. You want to talk about him, Mr. Raptors fan?
Yeah, so there's been quite a few rumors surrounding Pascal Siakam potentially leaving the Raptors. So teams in talks have been the Warriors, the Kings, the Clippers. There have all been different rumors surrounding that. Now, I know a lot of people, including Raptors teammate Fred VanVleet, have said things like, no, he's not leaving. He's staying in Toronto. But there have been other sources that say otherwise. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes of that. But for now, it looks like he's likely to stay.
Yeah, reportedly the Warriors are enamored with trading for Siakam. And the Kings are experiencing much greater pressure for trading for Pascal Siakam for some reason. Which is really weird. The Kings think they're that close. There's pressure on the GM to get Pascal Siakam right now, which I thought was really odd, as that just happened in the last couple of days. So if Siakam will be traded, I think the Kings are probably at the top of the list, the way they really want him. There was talk about the Warriors. They're not going to trade their future core players for anyone besides a superstar. And one superstar in particular, they didn't name it, but it's speculated to be Bradley Beal. So it's kind of odd that they're this high on Siakam. I don't think they would give up. They'd only give up one of Kuminga and Moody, I think. and maybe
Yeah.
Wiseman. I don't think there's a chance that the Warriors make this trade. Now, Russell Westbrook was
probably
traded
not.
to the Lakers in the offseason with 2 second-round picks for Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and the number 22 pick in the draft, Isaiah Jackson, which was then traded to the Pacers for Aaron Holiday. So the Wizards received Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, KCP, and Aaron Holiday for Russell Westbrook? Like, what? So the Lakers have a big three now, Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. And they also signed Carmelo Anthony, Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, and Kendrick Nunn. The Lakers suddenly have a very old team. But LeBron and Carmelo are playing with each other for the first time.
I know a lot of people are saying the Lakers are too old to win, but it'll be interesting. Just, has this really ever happened before, like a team of vets?
Yeah,
So
they have a lot of championship experience, playoff experience. Like, that's what it takes to win. That's a lot of it.
yeah.
And Melo, I don't know how good he'll be. He probably won't receive a very big role unless LeBron wants him to, which then he will, and that won't turn out well. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting, I thought. So the Heat receiving Kyle Lowry in a sign-and trade for Goran Dragic and who else?
I don't remember who else was involved in that.
But anyways, the Heat, while Andrew looks that up, the Heat now have Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, who they just extended, and Bam Adebayo as their big three of sorts. Kyle Lowry wanted to go to Miami, I think, and so that's a pretty good fit. They needed a guard, and so starting him at point guard, maybe Victor Oladipo at shooting guard, who they re-signed, or Depot could come off the bench. But the Raptors side of things, Goran Dragic, when he first got to Toronto, what did he say?
He said it wasn't his preferred destination, and that he had higher ambitions.
Yes, his exact quote. Oh yeah, you found it. Toronto is not my preferred destination. I have higher ambitions. But then later he apologized, and he said he was asked about Toronto and it was taken out of context. I told him I'd spent 7 years in Miami and that would be the preferred destination for me because my family is there. But yeah, he apologized, but I don't think he wants to be with the Raptors still. I think he would not, or he would not be disappointed at another trade. But I think the Raptors are going to keep him because he's a pretty good replacement for Lowry. You know, a veteran like Lowry was, point guard can lead this team. And Goran Dragic is a good player.
Yeah.
Who else did they get in that sign-and trade?
I just put in the script, Precious Achiuwa.
Oh yeah, Precious Achiuwa, the 20th pick or so in last year's draft by the Heat. He was one of the top recruits for the 2020 college class. And he's, you know, he still has potential for the Raptors, but that could create a forward clog, you know, with Siakam and Anunoby. That's so Siakam right there. Also Scotty Barnes. But the NBA is looking into tampering with this Raptors Heat sign-and-trade deal. Because,
as well as the Lonzo Ball sign-and-trade.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, but it seemed to happen pretty fast after after free agency opened, which seems like a lot of the deals happened that way, which, you know, they're talking before it starts. And the NBA knows this, but they're not going to do too much.
No.
Now onto the Bulls. They did a lot. They improved a lot this season. Andrew, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so they got all three of these players, right?
Yeah.
So Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, and Alex Caruso. So that's a big jump from their current roster, and so we'll see how that goes for them. And I know there was also some tampering claims in that thing too, especially concerning Lonzo Ball. So it'll be interesting to see how that progresses. But yes, these are all like solid, I'd say B tier players. Like they still have potential. They're not crazy good, but they're not bad either. So should help the Bulls become somewhat relevant again.
DeMar DeRozan has improved a lot as a playmaker. The Bulls are going to have a lot of playmaking in that starting lineup, which is now Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, the 4th pick in last year's draft, and Nikola Vucevic. That's a good starting lineup. They got Alex Caruso, Kobe White off the bench. They traded Thaddeus Young to the Spurs in the DeRozan sign-and trade. But they also have some other guys I'm not thinking of. But that's a good starting lineup. That's a playoff caliber starting lineup for the Chicago Bulls. And they could be pretty good. Like, I could see them as high as the 5th seed, 4th seed maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
In the East,
I'd say top 6.
That's a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi Leonard and Chris Paul both declined their player options heading into the offseason, but they both re-signed with their teams on big deals. No surprise there. There were 7 major extensions by All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry, 4 years, $215 million. And the last year of his contract, he's going to be making $59 million, which is absolutely insane. Trae Young and Luka Doncic signed for a matching 5 years, $207 million, I think. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander signed for somewhere under $200 million for 5 years. Kevin Durant got a big extension. It was over $200 million. Not sure what the exact terms are. And Jimmy Butler and Julius Randle both re-signed with the Heat and the Knicks, respectively. So stars got paid soon. They're going to be with their teams for a while, which makes sense because of the face of their respective franchises. And
yeah,
I was a little surprised by the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander one because they were offering him trades. They offered him and the 6th pick in the draft to the Pistons for the 1st pick in the draft because they wanted Cade that bad. But Gilgeous-Alexander is a good player. Now we got a great story with Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, this thing is great. So Spencer Dinwiddie, he is now a Wizards player. He's a Wizard point guard now. He has a history of trying to negotiate some odd contracts, and most of them have been turned down. But this one went through. He apparently found a loophole, and he was able to make this happen. So, if the Wizards win a championship with Spencer Dinwiddie,
because
he will get a $1. You heard that right, $1 bonus.
He really wants
$1
championship. Lot of incentive to win a championship in Washington. $1.
My word.
Imagine the Wizards actually win a championship, with Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Aaron Holiday. Oh, they do have Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I forgot about him. And Spencer Dinwiddie, they're all celebrating in the locker room after winning the 2022 NBA Finals championship. And then the owner walks in and gives Dinwiddie his $1.
Yep.
What a hard
he did it. You know he did it for the headlines. Like, I guarantee you, he could probably go up to any big fan of the Wizards and just be like, hey, give me $1. And they probably would. like he could get $1 easy. This is for the headlines, and he knows it. It's great.
Yeah, that's going to be really funny when the Wizards win the next championship.
I know, next year. I'm counting on it.
This is also really cool. The Cavs re-signed center Jarrett Allen for an absolutely perfect 5-year, $100 million deal. I mean, this is like a video game contract. He gets exactly $20 million a year, no options in the contract. It's just odd to see. Like, there's always some increase or decrease along the years of the contract, but this one was just flat $20 million a year. No opt-outs, no player options, no team options. Just a perfect 5-year, $100 million contract, which I thought was pretty cool because that never happens.
It's out of a dream.
Now, after Evan Fournier's Olympic explosion, he got a pretty big contract with the Knicks. Not sure the exact deals, but it was over $70 million for Evan Fournier, who can be utilized as a main featured scorer on the Knicks. We know with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett probably behind them too. He fell into a pretty good role there. Now, we got a big sign and trade with the Hornets, Pelicans.
Oh my word, this is huge. This is, very big. So like you said, it's Hornets, Pelicans, and Grizzlies. And we'll go into the big details in a second, but there's just, like, each team got 4 or 5 incentives out of it, and probably the biggest deal in the offseason. Do you want to talk about some of the more specific details?
Yeah, biggest deal is offseason, quantity-wise. So the Hornets received forward Wes Iwundu, a future protected first-round pick and cash, and the 51st overall pick in 2015 NBA draft, the draft rights to Tyler Harvey. And then with the cap space they cleared by trading players we'll talk about later, they agreed to sign Kelly Oubre Jr. The Pelicans received Jonas Valanciunas, Devontae Graham, 17th overall pick in the draft, who was Trey Murphy III, the 51st overall pick in the draft, which was BJ Boston. And the Grizzlies acquired center Steven Adams, guard Eric Bledsoe, the 10th overall pick in the draft, which was Zaire Williams, the 40th overall pick, which was Jared Butler, and a protected 2022 first-round pick. So, I think the main deal here was the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, because They basically swapped centers, with the
Mhm.
Pelicans getting Jonas Valanciunas, and the Grizzlies getting Steven Adams. And the Pelicans also got Devontae
Yeah.
Graham from the Hornets, who can be a pretty good backup guard for them, or maybe starting point guard, given that they traded
Mhm.
Lonzo Ball. But I'm really excited the Pelicans traded Lonzo Ball. There was such a connection there with him and Zion.
I am too.
Those half-court, three-quarter court lobs. I kind of gonna miss that.
Yes.
But did you know Steven Adams is younger than Duncan Robinson? Which is
Really?
really odd. I mean, you look at him, and I thought he had been in the league for a while, and Duncan Robinson is older than him, which is really weird. I guess it's because
Feels
Robinson.
like Steven Adams been in the league forever.
Yeah, I guess it's because Robinson played 4 years at Michigan, and then he was in the G League for a couple years. So when he came up as a rookie, he was older. But that's still really odd.
Yeah, how is Steven Adams only 28? Like,
Yeah, Aquaman is young.
no.
So the Hornets, the main thing for them was trading Devontae Graham to the Pelicans, because then they had the cap space to
Mhm.
sign wing Kelly Oubre. Did not want to go back to the Warriors because they told him he'd be in a bench role, which makes sense. I mean, come on, they have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins. Where's he gonna play? What did you expect?
Exactly.
He's gonna get the six-man role, but he didn't want that, I guess, going to the Hornets. It's a little sad about that, but given he's not the most efficient player, and we signed a couple wings and Andre Iguodala and Otto Porter Jr., I wasn't that upset.
Yeah.
Which leads us into our next topic, Andre Iguodala going to the Warriors, which I was really happy about. Bringing back 2015 vibes, you know, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, and replacing Harrison Barnes with Andrew Wiggins. Yeah, we're running it back. 74 wins? Yes.
Nice. All right, so the Heat next. So they re-signed Victor Oladipo, and they are really just continuing to build up their team. I mean, obviously they have Lowry now, adding on to their current roster, and they're just going to continue being a threat in the East. Like, a couple years ago, they were not relevant at all, and now suddenly, a couple years later, they're one of the top finals prospects.
I will say Victor Oladipo is not a great player anymore.
He's not.
Like, the injuries, he's fallen
He's
off.
dropped off.
He was really fun to watch, especially in
I know.
transition, but yeah, I'm kind of sad about that. Depot was the face of the Pacers, and then that
He
fateful
was.
injury in Toronto.
Maybe he'll make his return this year. Maybe this year he'll make his return. Something will click with Lowry or something.
Hopefully, he's getting older though.
Yeah, he is.
Now our last topic, some summer league debuts from the top 3 picks in the draft. So Cade Cunningham with the Pistons debuted Sunday evening. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 5 turnovers, shot 5 for 17 overall, and 2 for 7 from deep. So not great efficiency and 5 turnovers, but I think 3 of those turnovers could have translated into assists if big man Tyler Cook didn't have butter for hands. The defense impressed me the most from Cade though. 2 steals and 2 blocks.
Yeah.
He was really active, and he came into this saying he's not going to play the number 1 pick. He's going to play like an undrafted player trying to make the team, which he showed. He played with a lot of effort on the court, and that translated on the defensive end, getting into fast breaks and transition. Now Jalen Green and Evan Mobley, they played against each other on Sunday evening as well. The Rockets versus the Cavs. Andrew, you want to talk about that game?
Yeah, so Jalen Green was the clear star out of those two. He had much better shooting percentage. He had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, no steals or blocks, a single turnover. He shot 50% from the field, going 9 and 18, and 4 for 9 from deep. So very impressive numbers for a summer league debut. Like, it was kind of crazy. And then for Cleveland, Evan Mobley had a very strong defensive showing with 1 steal and 3 blocks, although his offense was pretty average, around 12 points, 5 rebounds, no assists. He had 5 turnovers, 1 steal is in there in our script twice, don't know why. 3 blocks, also in there twice. Just noticed that. 6 for 17 field goals, and he went 0 for 2 from deep.
Wow, we really messed that up.
I know, we did.
But Jalen Green, the number 2 pick, did considerably better than Cade Cunningham in the first game, which now people are saying, Cade's a bust, Pistons should have taken Green first overall. Of course, all those overreactions. But you have to realize that Jalen Green played in the G League last year. He played in the G League Ignite, and he played against all other 30 NBA teams, their G League teams. which have good players on it, pro players. Veterans that are still trying to make it into
Exactly.
the league. So he has experience against the types of players that he faced in the summer league. And Cade Cunningham doesn't. He played 1 year in college at Oklahoma State after coming out of high school at Montverde, where that team barely had to try against other high schools because they were just absolutely stacked. So Cunningham and Green play each other tonight, actually. Pistons Rockets tonight at 9 on ESPN.
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried as a Pistons fan if Green does better than Cunningham in this game. The hot takes that are going to happen, that Green is better than Cunningham. But, it'll be a fun game to watch.
Should be cool. All right. That's all we have. So, thank you for watching Sportsified News.
Make sure to check out our
Subscribe.
podcast. Wait, you are watching our podcast.
Yeah.
If you're on YouTube,
Yes,
hit
you
that
are.
red subscribe button down below. If you're on Apple
that like button
Podcasts,
too.
Google Podcasts, Spotify, or more, is there also a subscribe button? There might be a plus or like a subscribe or something, or follow.
Or I think there's a follow.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you can follow.
The notifications.
Yeah.
Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Sportsified News. We don't really use that. I don't know why we advertise that.
No.
Anyways, thanks for
it.
watching. I'm Braylon. He's
See you
Andrew.
next time.
Catch you in the next one. Peace.